okay, the HER is deliberately inserted in there. Unashamedly, unapologetically, I work with professional women. Okay, and I decided to get into this space following a health scare 4 years ago, which kind of led me into a space to reevaluate my life. And I decided to resign from my 22 years of service with the civil service, and come into the space of coaching. And the main key driver for this was the fact that I've had a fantastic career in terms of leadership journey, very unique, I know, especially for a woman, and more importantly, as a woman of colour. And I really was conscious that as I progressed through my career, that I always found myself as the only in the room. So it was, very often, well, most 99% of the time, I was the only female, and, I was the only female of colour for miles around. And although we went through time, and I'm talking about 22 years, sadly, that didn't change. So when I came into this space, I decided to change my side hustle, coaching women, and make it into a permanent thing. And I've been doing this full time for the last 4 years. What I'm about to share with you is a masterclass, which is helping women to shatter their inner glass ceiling. And I'll get some slides, but before I get into the slides, I just wanted you to do a little bit of housekeeping. So those of you that have just joined, the session is going to be recorded. It's been organised by the lovely Zara. I'm an external. I'm not from West Yorkshire. Is that right? West Yorkshire. I'm sat in London, by the way. So that's where I am. And Zara kindly invited me to deliver this as part of the International Women celebrations this month. So I'm so pleased that you saw it, something connected with you in the comms that went out, and it must have spoke to you, because for you to take 90 minutes out of your busy schedules to be in this space, it's absolutely fantastic. So turn off your gadgets, put your mobiles on silent, put yourselves on mute so that we don't have any interruptions. Are we okay to go? Thumbs up. So, I don't want you to just sit there. I need you to get engaged with me. I'll shout out and expect you to do this. I'm going to let you into a secret. For 22 years, I was a prison governor, so I'm kind of used to being a bit directive and saying it as it is without many filters, or without any filters. So that's me. I am Marmitish. Either you'll take to me and you love me, or you'll say, oh my God, get me out of here. So, but that's absolutely fine. Respectfully, you know what to do. If you stay, you stay, and if you want to leave, you leave. So okay, let's go. So the recording started. We're not going to do introductions, and that's not just to say that I don't want to get to know you. Of course I want to get to know you, but you're such a big group. Okay, so we've got 50 plus women, so if I start to do the introductions, by the time we finish, the 90 minutes will be up. And I'm sure as much as you want to see and know who the woman next to you is, you're mindful that this is your space. And that's the important thing, ladies. This is your space. Okay, and what I would love for you to do, and I'd encourage you to do, is to really shut out the noise about if you've come from a meeting or at work, all the stuff that's going on that's important to you and that makes up your life. I just want you to try to shut it out, and I want you to really get tuned into what I'm saying, what I'm presenting, and start to think about you, because the whole point of this 90-minute is you. Okay, so those of you that have come on here thinking that I'm going to give you some leadership stuff and it's going to be textbookish, no, it's not. The focus is going to be you. Okay, so everything I throw at you will be about you as the woman. Okay, so really important. So are you with me? Give me a thumbs up so I know that you're wide awake and you're hearing me. Use the chat, use the reactions. It's nice, because otherwise I feel like I'm talking to myself, So brilliant, fantastic. Okay. So let's talk. So you are here helping women to smash their inner glass ceiling. I'm not just consistent. I tend to go off script. So that's my pre-health warning. If I read the room, if I feel like we need to go into breakout rooms, we will go into breakout rooms. Like I said, I want this to be engaging. I want it to be interactive. I want it to be energized. But more importantly, I want you to be able to utilize this space and really connect with who you are and what's going on for you. And what was it that initially really attracted you to come into this space. Okay, so helping women to smash their inner glass ceiling, very appropriate. The word that you really should be focusing on is inner. Okay, so we're not going to talk about your organization. We're not going to talk about the workplace. We're not going to talk about the mean boss that you work to that's, you know, discouraging you from progressing. We're not going to talk about your circumstances. We're not going to talk about any of that, right? We're going to talk about you. And the reason why I focus on you, this is the work that I've been doing. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about my own background so that you get a good sense of, you know, who is Saj and why is she in this space and what makes her, or what gives her the authority to talk to us in the manner that she's talking to, and why she's, you know, why she's sharing what she's sharing. Okay, so that is the title of the masterclass. So we are going to do the inner work. We're not going to talk about leadership styles. We're not going to talk about CVs. We're not going to talk about all the external stuff that, you know, that help you to progress. We're really going to talk about what is it about you that's stopping you from progressing in your life, be it in your life or your career. Because what I'm going to talk about is you as a woman. So for me, you as the woman is the common denominator. You know, it doesn't matter. I don't have a separate script for, oh, well, if we're in the workplace, we're like this. And if we're, you know, over in our homes, we're like this. You are you wherever you go. And that's what I want you to really connect with. Okay, so that's a very old picture. You probably noticed I look much younger. I had much shorter hair. So that's about 4 years old. I need to update that. So who am I? My name is Saj, and I just want to quickly share with you my story. Okay, so this is how my story goes. So I am typically South Asian. I'm from Kashmir. I was born to migrant parents. I came here as a baby. I was raised in a small mining town, and we were the first Asian family to settle there. And my life was pretty uneventful for the first 5 years, and up until I went to primary school. And when I got to the primary school, that's when it first hit me that I was very different to every other child, right? Being the only Asian family, it hadn't occurred to my parents, and both were illiterate, uneducated. My father was a labourer, my mother was a housewife. So they didn't have that insight of, you know, as we would do nowadays, is to prepare my, you know, the child going into school. So my experience was really turning up in a very flamboyant printed dress. Mum wanted me to look beautiful on my first day with lots of coal in my eyes, lots of oil in my hair, and smelling of curry. And she pushed me to the gate and she said, there you go, off you go. And as soon as I landed, clearly all the children just looked at me and thought, oh my God, an alien has just landed, which then sadly led to a lot of bullying. And by the time I was 11, it was not unusual for me to be kept off school, in detention, teachers raising their concerns, and my parents yo-yoing every other week to try to explain why their daughter, every time she came home, she had a bloody nose or black eyes or lots of hair being pulled out. So that became the theme of my so-called life. And it got so bad, sadly, by the time I got to the secondary school, I'd established that the only way to survive was to use my fists. I wasn't the brightest child. I was very frustrated, very angry, and perhaps very resentful, because I found myself in a situation where I didn't like being who I was because of my difference, and I didn't particularly know. I also knew that I wasn't white either, and then my parents was, you know, I guess oblivious or ignorant of the fact that everything outside of their front door was very different to how they kept things inside the home. So with that, what I call very loose term schizophrenic life, by the time I was 11, it wasn't unusual that one day after school, some bullies decided to wait for me and jump on me and stab me. So you know, you can imagine the kind of horrors that I went through as a child. So fast forward to 15, by now I've had enough, and I decided that the only way was going to be out, and I decided to heavily overdose, ended up in hospital having my stomach pumped out and be referred to a beautiful white blonde and blue-eyed woman who peered over her glasses, who happened to be the psychiatrist, and she pulled my father in and she said, your daughter is having an identity crisis. I'm not sure what my dad heard, because the next thing I knew, one minute I was lying on the back of my bed, swooning over George Michael, imagining that he was going to come and rescue me and we're going to get married and live happily ever after. And that was before everybody knew he was gay, by the way. So and the next thing I knew, I'm on a plane and I'm being deported. And I use the word, not lightly. I'm actually deported with a one-way ticket to Kashmir. I'm not going to bore you with the details of my life in Kashmir, but all I'm going to say, there was no running water, there was no electricity. And, so all the experiences that I had of being a South Asian girl in an all-white school and in an all-white town, I now went from being a British teenager to a remotest part of the world and, not fitting in, and again being reinforced, reminded that I was an alien. Not that I was counting. 2 years, 4 months, 15 days later, I managed to negotiate a return back to the UK on the promise that I would marry. I would accept an arranged marriage, and if that kept my parents off my back for a few years, and in return, they would, agree for me to go to university. I was very, very lucky because I had a plan since the age of 5. I had 2 plans. One, that Elvis Presley was going to come and claim me as his lost daughter. I don't know where that came from, but that's how the fantasies in my head work. And the second, that I was actually going to run away. Now, those of us that are South Asian in this group, I think this will, really resonate with you, because the way I was raised was there were only 2 ways to leave the family, or to leave the upbringing that you were born into. One was death and the other was marriage, and both options were not very pretty attractive. So for me, I went to university, and I knew that at the end of the university period, there would be a big fat Asian wedding, but I had different plans. So what I did, I confided in my tutor, who kindly supported me. So for 4 years, I saved up my pocket money. I saved up bits and pieces like clothes and things, and she allowed me to use her office to store my money and my bits and pieces, my personal brand. And so that was my exit plan. On the last day of university, Mum and Dad thought I was going to university. I was on an airplane to, of all the places in the world, to Tenerife, to 1830s Club. Don't ask me why. I went to Thomas Cook and I said, I need to go somewhere where I can blend in. And the young chap behind the desk said, you need to go to the 1830s Club. So that's where I ended up. Had a fantastic 2 weeks, I must confess. And then I came back. I flew back, and I knew that I was going to be listed as a missing person. And I knew that most of my relatives, and by the way, I've got thousands spread across the UK, I knew they would all be looking for me. And so I went on the run. So I moved from city to city, living in a hoodie with a holdall, and just kept on moving. And after 6 weeks, it just hit me. And I'm glad it did hit me. It occurred to me that this wasn't the plan, that, this wasn't part of the plan. So what I did, back in the days, we didn't have mobile phones. So I picked up the phone, rang my parents and said, I'm going to come out of hiding. And I know what the consequences to that is, but I want you to meet with me, and I want us to negotiate. So this negotiation took place in Birmingham, of all the places in the world, in a small cafe. And my father came, and I knew that he would come with his entourage, and my cousins with their baseball bats and, cars with big boots, and little me was going to get thrown into the back and probably taken back to Kashmir. I knew what the drill was. I'd heard of it. I'd experienced it through other girls. So I knew what the drill was. My father passed away 3.5 years ago, and I think he was a very humble man, very simple man, and I think one of the most courageous things he did in his life is the day when he met me in that cafe. And we sat at the table, and he asked me, he said, we had the anger, you've dishonored me, you brought shame to the family, I can't go out into the community, people have said that it was me spoiling you, me educating you, me all, and all this, that's, that led us for you to run away. And, people are saying you're pregnant, people are saying that there is a boy involved. To which I said to him, you need to ask your hearts of hearts. Do you really think that I would run away with the boy? And he looked at me and he giggled and he said, no, absolutely not. And I said, I want you to understand the reason why I ran away was not to run away from you, but to run away to my freedom. I said, I'm somebody that needs to be free. I need to make my own choices. I need to have my own career. I need to lead my own life. And I said, as much as this is an alien concept to you, I want you to do. There's nothing disrespectful of what I want to do. And I said, the struggle is the fact that you've been raised in a particular way. And if that's the way you wanted me to be, then you should have never flown out of Kashmir. And that's where you should have stayed and raised me there. The fact that you've exposed me to a Western way of living and being, I want, you've given me an education, and I need to feel that I can go and get a job. I can live by myself and be trusted to do those things. And I think my father probably had one of those aha moments where he did dig deep and probably thought, actually, she's got a point here. And then he said something that I will never, ever forget. And I'm forever indebted to him. And he said, look, everybody's outside, they're waiting, and they're waiting for me to give them the sign. So the drill, as you know, is to grab you and to push you into the car and take you back home. And they want me to send you to Pakistan. And I said, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And he looked at me and he said, with tears in his eyes, and he's just said, and he said, is there a back door to this place? I said, well, I don't know. He said, I suggest you use it. He goes, I want you to use the back door, and I want you to keep on running. And I want you to keep on running and not look back. And when you're ready, and when we're ready to accept you, and when I've managed to work with the community, I'll give you the sign and I'll give you the nod. And then that's when you can come back and you can have contact with us. But you've got my ultimate blessing. And I left through the back door and I started running, and I ran into my life, my so-called life. I graduated in forensic psychology. My first ever job was in a Feltham Young Offenders. This was around the time when we had lots of sexual offences committed by young people here in London. And as a knee-jerk reaction, the government decided that we were breeding monsters, and what were we going to do, even with the maximum sentence, that we should do something more therapeutic. And I set up the first therapeutic unit for young sex offenders. And like most of you, I stumbled into the job. I was super excited that I'd landed this job. It was everything that I wanted and more. And for 5 years, I just kept my head down and kept on doing what I really enjoyed, and driven by the fact that I wanted to make a difference and I wanted to prevent future victims. 5 years on, I was nominated for the Director General's Award and for the best employee, and for delivering on 100% of my key performance targets. And lo and behold, I came to the attention of senior leaders. And because I came to the attention of senior leaders, they decided that they would invest in me by putting me on the leadership program. And this is 2001. I became the first youngest Asian Muslim woman to become a prison governor. Never seen in British history before, and never seen since. Not everybody wants to grow up and become a prison governor, I understand that. And so I graduated from the Prison Service College, and I went on to, hello? I've just realised, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I just caught myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't see any of you because the screen is so big. Okay, so sorry. So yeah, so I became the first prison governor. Sorry to break that moment. You're all sitting there. What was next? And so and then I, for the next 16 years, I went to manage prisons. And interestingly, one of the things that I became known for is my nickname became the Fix-It Governor, and purely because that if anything was broken or prisons that were failing, I would go in with the team and we would fix things and turn them around. And during that course of time, of course, I got married. I had two beautiful boys, and as a consequence, realised you can't have a baby on the breast and manage a prison at the same time. So what I did then was to move into central government. And just to wrap up the story, to just give you a little bit of insight, I just want to share with you that for the last 10 years of my career with the civil service, I didn't make an application. I didn't make an application. I was always told or asked if there was an opportunity considered for, and said, do you want that? And I was so privileged that by the sheer fact of the fact that who I was and where I was, that the last two big projects that I got to do was I led on the ministerial engagement for Grenfell when Grenfell happened, and then subsequently I was there with the Home Office to right the wrongs for the Windrush victims for 88 Commonwealth countries. And then 4 years ago, just around the time when I think I was starting to settle, had like endless therapy sessions, counselings, and all the rest of it to try to do the inner work, trying to make myself, whole again, coming from the background and the trauma that I'd experienced in my life. I woke up one day with a nosebleed, and before I knew it, I was rushed into hospital. Fast forward CT scan, fast forward end of life conversation with the neurosurgeon, fast forward I'm preparing for my funeral, and then through treatment and everything, luckily for me, I'm a woman of faith. I think God was being kind, gave me my second chance. And I managed to, the tumour secreted, fully recovered, and it brought me to a place which really, where I started to think about who I was, the life I'd had, which pretty much was about reacting and stumbling from situations to situation, and thinking about, my own sort of self, and thinking around my own legacy and what did I want to do. And that's when I decided, actually, if I could do one thing for the rest of my life, and I think that is what my purpose, my calling is, and that's why I'm here in this way, is to help other women, to pave the way for other women to come through their leadership journeys. And when I'm talking about leadership, ladies, I'm not talking about your rank or your pay packet or any of those things. What I'm actually talking about, when you lead you, then everything else follows. And I'd love for women, those who are today, to take away one of the thinking is that, rather than living and accepting your circumstances and falling into those traps where we get stuck, that you start to thinking about, I am in control of me. What is it that I need to do? And is this the life that I've chosen for myself? And is it worth living? And does it actually serve me? So those are the questions that we're going to look to. So that brings me, I know that was a long story, but that shows you my age, many moons of it, that's why I'm here. Okay. So, any questions? Do use the chat if there's any thinking or any comments you want to make, and I will try to get back to them. Okay, so research. Let's have a look at research. Now, let me give you the backdrop before we start talking about you. So, we're all women, as you probably noticed. This is an all-female space, and that's deliberate. And the reason why, because this is not about the fact that we are anti-men. It's just the fact, as women, we have our own way of thinking. We have our own way, our prototypes, our DNA, the way our brains are worked. And above all, we're very subjective and emotive, beings. So I wanted to create this space so that we could have a conversation, and which we will do. Okay, but I wanted to give you the backdrop because you're here in the professional capacity, and this is what I wanted to share with you. This is what research shows, that whilst women have made good progress over, since we burnt our bras, and International Women's Day, every year we celebrate being a woman and all the accomplishments with that. Sadly, when you look at the landscape across every organisation, be it private or public, women are still struggling to get to the top table. And the glass ceiling that we often talk about is a metaphor. It's a metaphor. It isn't literally a ceiling, but it's a metaphor to explain that is something where we as women, we come against and we can't seem to penetrate or go to the other side. Very few women do get to the other side. However, a lot of research is saying that most women, when we compare to them to men, that we start off pretty relatively around the same. And after 7 years, something happens to us that separates us from the main world. And what that is, life. And that's when we are reminded, and you probably be able to pinpoint this into your own careers. We are reminded by society and by us, our own within, that we are reproductive beings. And that's when we start to consider relationships and, give birth and take caring on responsibilities. And with all those multitude of things that happen to us, we lose our footing on the career ladder. And now there's a new terminology, you may or may not have heard it, it's called the first broken rung. So, up until recently, we were talking about glass ceilings. Now we're talking about broken rungs, where women lose their footing off their career. Write that down. Where you lose your footing off the career ladder, and you getting back in is very, very difficult. Okay. And sadly, I'm going to talk about women of color because, we've got such a nice, brilliant, diverse group. And it's really, really important that we mention that there are even differences between the women, okay, how well or they do or how well they don't do. And I really wanted to signpost you to 2 reports, okay, and I'm talking about women of color. It's deliberate, this is a terminology. I've never been a big fan of BAME, Black and Asian minority ethnic. For me, race is about color, the color of your skin, that's what's visible. And because of that visibility of that skin, it triggers bias, discrimination, and your experiences are going to be very, very different to white women. So I really wanted to very quickly to talk about women of color, because I'm mindful there are women of color in this space. So the 2 reports that I want you to really think about, and I want you to write it in the chat, somebody, so that everybody's got this, or Zara can cut and paste this, is the 2020 Color of Power Index, which was done by Green Park. And I really want you to listen to this, right? And this report actually shared that 11 out of 1,099 positions in the UK's most powerful institutions are held by women of colour. Right? I don't have a GCSE in maths, but you work out the maths, okay? So this is the 2020 Colour of Power. So when we're looking at power across the leadership in the UK, only 11 out of 1,099 positions are taken by women of colour, which is really distressing, I think, when you really interrogate the data. The other thing that I want you, the other report that I'm referring to, and you must have come across, if you haven't, it's the Foresight Society 2020 Sex and Power Report, which further highlights that the lack of women of colour across top jobs. Now, those of you, I'm assuming that most of you are from the public sector, if not all, and I've done my own research, and this is what the data shows. It doesn't matter if you're from West Yorkshire, South Yorkshire, or London, or wherever in the UK. When we interrogate the data, sadly, this is what the food chain looks like. Okay, the food chain is white men, white women, black men, Black African Caribbean women, and then Pakistani and Bangladeshi women right at the bottom. That is what the food chain looks like. So like I said, I could come into Bradford, I could come into London. That is what the hierarchy would look like. So it really saddens me that even now, 2023, with all the progression that we're making, that when it comes to women, and more importantly, women of colour, we've got yet a long way to go. So I've already touched, where are the women of colour in your organisations? They tend to be in the frontline operational supporting service delivery. That's where they tend to be. So that's why I'm holding more and more of these workshops and masterclasses and engaging with organisations to really have those candid conversations, is where are your women of colour, and isn't it time you invested in them? Okay, so it's no surprise that when you talk to women of colour, the 3 things that they will all often say to you: I'm underrepresented, unsupported, and unfulfilled. And we'll talk a little bit about that in this. Now, for me, what's really, really important, and I need you to really listen to what I'm about to say, right? I came to learn in my own life, and yes, my unique leadership journey was a result of a white privileged man who saw something in me that I didn't even know I had. And he said, go on the leadership program. We are diversifying the prison service. I think you'll be good. And hence, one day I was sitting at my desk being a treatment manager for a bunch of young offenders, and the next I'm wearing a suit and I'm being addressed as mom, and I'm sitting behind a desk at Wormwood Scrubs. Okay, so I don't expect any of your journeys to be like that. However, one of the lessons that I learned is that you can never control your external conditions. Okay, what I mean by that, you cannot control how people will treat you. You cannot control other people's bias. Write this down. You cannot control, all the obstacles, the systematic, the institutional stuff. However, you can control you. All right. And sadly, as I've gone through life and as I've been coaching women, this is one of the things that I've come to realize, is that it doesn't really matter about your external circumstances, because how you show up is so, so key. And most women will hesitate. They will hide, they'll hold back, not because they want to, because of their limiting beliefs, all right? Because of their own personal experiences that they've grown up with. And it's those things that will get in the way. So for me, from where I'm sitting as a leadership coach for women, this is what you will hear me often say, right? The only person getting between you and what you seek is you. So you need to get out of your own way. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit about those of you that are waiting to be rescued. There is no rescue. Nobody's going to come and sort of, pick you up and sort of say, oh, you're not in where you should be, so I'm going to take you and put you somewhere where where you should be. No, you need to do the inner work. And for me, that starts with you, your true core self. And we will look at that. Okay, so I'm going to make some assumptions about you, and give me a thumbs up in the chat on the screen, and this is my assumptions, and then I'm going to stop talking. Okay, so for me, I'd like to think that every little girl has a dream, right? Who agrees with me? Give me a thumbs up. Every little girl has a dream. If I was to go around the room, and if I was to ask individual, and I'm going to pick on some of you now, so you need to be alert. Okay, so who can I pick on? Who's on my screen? Fiona, you're looking very thoughtful. What were you going to be when you were going to grow up? Tell me.
Oh, I don't know, Mum.
You were going to be a mum. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Fine. Okay, I've got Noreen in the left-hand corner. Noreen, tell me, what were you going to be when you were going to grow up?
A policewoman.
A policewoman. Brilliant. Wahida, what were you going to be when you were going to grow up?
I wanted to go into theatre at the time, so.
You wanted to go into the theatre, right? Okay. Now, this is a good question. I'm going to ask you. Raise your hand if you fulfilled your dream. Raise your hand. I can't see any hands. Oh, wow. We've got Maz. Maz got her hand up. Anybody else? We haven't got that many hands up. So what happened? For those of you that didn't accomplish your dream, what happened? Oh, that's a big sigh. Talk to me. Who was that?
I think that might have been me. It's Maz.
Okay, Maz, go for it.
No, mine's not. It wasn't accomplished. Something quite significant happened to me, like it happened to you. I got made redundant, and it was my re-evaluation. And on my re-evaluation in life, I decided the opportunities that came my way, I would grasp them. Because at the same year that I got made redundant, I hit 50. Yeah. And it was like, life's got to begin. So I always wanted to be an actress when I was a kid. And at 50, I had the opportunity to be involved in some theatre and some films and one thing and another. But Brilliant. The other thing that I did as well, Saj, get ready for this one, I also started to coach women.
Brilliant. Oh my God, it can
so I saw it as an opportunity rather than an obstacle, really. As upset as I was about being made redundant. I just kind of turned it into something more productive.
Oh, you know what we're talking about? Well, you know, we've all heard it, haven't we? When one door closes, another opens, right? And in my life, I've always come to realize when you're in between a hard place and a rock, the only place is to rise. Okay. All right. So Asmita has actually answered the question, right? And I wonder if she's been on my previous masterclass. Okay. Life happens. Ladies, life happens. So you start off with this little dream, ambition, you want to grow up, you go to school and everything. And for most of us, life happens. Okay. So that is not just, you know, if you thought that is just you, if you look around the room, most women will say that's what happened. And so the next question I'm going to ask you is, right, so life happens, and the next thing I'm going to ask you, how many of you are running on the treadmill of life? Talk to me. How many of you are running on the treadmill of life, and what do I mean by treadmill of life? Sorry, I can't see everybody's hands. So if you unmute yourself and then just shout, and then, you know, hopefully we'll hear you.
Saj, can you hear me? Yeah,
Yes,
I think
I can hear you.
what I interpret that to mean is I always say I need another day in the week. I've got 3 kids, a husband, 2 dogs, and a job that I love. And I want to give everything 100%. I just need another day to fit in the, you know, the menial tasks like the housework and the washing and the going for a long walk in the woods.
Absolutely.
That's the treadmill. I never have a day off. I'm always on it.
All right, absolutely. And my lovely, you're not on your own, okay? So you are one of those women that, you know, and I'm one of those women that we need a day between Sunday and Monday. Okay, we need a day between Sunday and Monday. Write that down. I'm sure it'll resonate with you. We always need that extra day to catch up, because, you know, running on treadmill of life is basically you running, and running on treadmill of life is that you are busy. So many of you are busy. If I go round, oh my God, you will tell me until, you know, I have to have a lie down in a darkened room. You'll tell me how busy you are. The question I'm going to really get you to start thinking, when you run on the treadmill of life, ladies, just remember this, right? Just remember this. You can dial it up. There are days when you will wake up, you'll get out of bed and you'll attempt all the 15,000 things that you've got to do, and you'll do them to the best of your ability. When your head hits the pillow, you've got 25,000 things to do, right? Does that resonate? Give me a thumbs up, yeah? Okay. And then there are days when you feel like, oh my God, you know, I just can't. Okay. And Zara and I were having a conversation earlier about not being morning people, especially during Ramadan. Okay. So you just want to have a duvet day and you dial it down because you don't have the energy, or you just don't feel for it, or whatever. Right. The thing about treadmills, my lovely, each one of you that are running on the treadmill of life, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. Okay. All right, is the penny starting to drop? I can see some of your faces, you're looking mortified, but that's the reality. When you run on the treadmill of life, it doesn't have a destination. All you do is you dial it up or you dial it down. And when you're running on this treadmill of life, what also starts to happen, which is understandable, you become stuck, right? And most women that come into my coaching space, the first thing they say is, I don't know where my life's gone. Does that resonate? Does that actually resonate? Yeah. Does that resonate? Yeah. So they'll say, I don't know where my life has gone. You know, it's just gone. And I've been shackled by my duties and responsibilities and the care of the kids and all of this. And whilst all of that stuff has been happening, I wake up one day and I look around and I'm exactly where I thought I wouldn't be. Does that resonate? Yeah. Right. And that's the harsh reality. So what is it, you know, what is it that keeps you feeling stuck? And what I always say is, whatever got you here, write this down. What got you here is not what's going to take you out of here. Right? The mindset that brought you here is not the mindset that is going to take you out from here. Right? And this is what's going to really be a big revelation. And this is something that was the turning point in my life. Okay. And 4 years ago, I met a coach, somebody on Facebook, and a world-renowned coach. And do you know what the first thing he said to me after listening to my story? He said, Saj, I want to tell you something, right? You do not need to be wedded to struggle. You do not need to be wedded to struggle. So those of you that have made homes in struggle, been a victim of circumstances, right? All of those things you need to start to think about, okay? Because there is an alternative. You will only do and think the way you are programmed to do so. And where does that programming come, ladies? Where does it come? Give me a shout out. Where does it come from?
From us.
From us, but where does us come from? Who makes up us? What makes you the woman that you are today, sitting in this room?
Your experiences.
Experiences, your socialization, your you know, education, your influences, the people that came into your life. Those are all the things that brought you into this space. Okay, and that's the way your mindset is programmed. So if your mindset is programmed in a particular way, what happens when you press Google and you put Kim Kardashian in there? What happens? It's not a trick question. I'm not techie. If you write Kim Kardashian in the Google, the search bar, what will happen? What will happen?
Everything about her life will come up.
Okay, so everything to do with Kim K will come up, right? Similarly, your brain, everything that's happened to you, everything that's stored in there. So if we press a button, that's what's going to come out, right? So your old thinking, the way you've been brought up, the way you think is what's going to inform and keep you where you are. Kate, you've got your arms folded. You're thinking, what's going on? Talk to me.
No, I'm just thinking about exactly what you've been saying because it's true.
Of course it's true.
Yeah.
Did you for one moment think it wasn't going to be
No,
true?
no, I was just thinking about in my life.
I'm
It's
playing
true.
with you. I'm playing with you, my lovely. It's fine. But can you see, ladies? I can see the faces. I can see the faces like, oh my God. I know there. By the way, I'm not to make myself redundant, okay? But everything I'm going to teach you, ladies, right? Right? There's nothing new. You know it already, but we don't have this, what I call a space where we come together and we start to talk about it in this manner. So I'm just going to call it out as much as it's going to be uncomfortable for some of you. Okay, so we become what we think about. I'm going to share something with you because it's so important, and because I think two things will happen in your life to bring about change, right? One is adversity, and some kind lady, you know, my kindred spirit, you know, she got made redundant. I was looking at a brain tumor. So you know, so adversity, where something comes crashing down and you're forced to rethink your life. Okay, and then the second bit is when you actually make a conscious decision. You think, you know what, having heard what I've heard today, I need to make some changes, right? I want you to write this down. You cannot unknow what you know. You cannot unknow what you know. All right. So after today's masterclass, you can't go back into your grind and pretend. You can pretend, of course you can. You're grown up women. I'm not going to be sitting on your shoulders to check in on you, but you can pretend that you didn't hear anything. But ultimately, right, you now have a choice. Knowing what you know, you have a choice to stay where you are or to do something about it. Okay, and so adversity can kickstart you into doing something or a conscious decision. Write that down, or making a conscious decision. Do you know what? I deserve more. I am more. I'm going to do something that will help me to, you know, to align myself with what I seek, what I want as a woman. Okay, right? Really, really important. You know, this is so embarrassing. I've got the bell going and nobody's home. And that's my 15-year-old with his trainers. Just bear with me. I will be right back. apologies. My children have got shares in Amazon. So where was I? So two things: adversity or making a conscious decision. So important. I'm going to share this slide with you, and I want you to write the name down. Bonnie Ware. B-O-N-N-I-E, last name Ware, W-A-R-E. Okay, Bonnie Ware. She was a nurse. You can buy the book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. You can buy the book. I wouldn't really want you to buy the book. You can Google it. There's lots of articles, right? And this is what she was a nurse in a hospice, caring for those that were dying. And she overheard conversations. And what she did, she captured those conversations and wrote a book. And this is what she shared with the world. And it's so there's no surprises here, but it really gets you to think about what's important to us as human beings. Okay, she said the top 5 regrets of the dying. Number 1, and some of this will resonate with you. You know, we'll talk about which ones really grab us. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. How many of us are living lives that are being chosen by our circumstances or driven by what our parents wanted or our culture or our faith and you know, just everything external, so that we fell into those traps of wanting to please, to do, to fit in, to belong, and we ended up carving a life according to that. Number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so much. So those of you that are clocking up 50, 60, 70 hours a week, you know, on the brink of a burnout, look at this one. I wish I hadn't worked so much, right? Number 3, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. Mental health is the biggest disease in the world right now, okay? I think it overtakes cancer, right? And most of us are stuck in our heads with our feelings, not sharing, and spiraling into depression, spiraling into, you know, into dark places. And it really saddens me that how many of us are just, especially, you know, following the pandemic, how much of this is actually now showing up, that the mental health is on the increase, especially with young people and women who are on the brink of a burnout because they're having to work and do everything else. Yeah. Number 4, I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. How many of you remember to connect with your soul sisters? Your soul sisters are your food for your soul. How many of you actually keep in touch with your sisters that you can go out and have a laugh and a giggle and because you're too busy. You're too busy tending to the children, the husband, the partner, the lover, the parents, the grandparents, and the list is endless, okay? And this really breaks my heart. I wish that I'd let myself be happier. Okay. I wish I had let myself be happier. How many of you go through life and raise your hand? And I'm number 1 in this, where you put everybody else before you. Raise your hand. Yeah. You put everybody else, the children, everybody else is before you. Somebody look at, oh my God, I'm loving you, Dionysia. Dionysia's saying double hands. Yeah. So this, you know, does this resonate with you? Is everything I'm saying with you, does it start to sink in? Where are we going with this conversation? Yeah. Okay, I know it might be difficult for some of you, but stick with it. We're here, you know, we're going to support each other to get through this. Okay. Now, the joy of all this is there's one thing that will separate you, my lovelies, from the life you seek. What do you think it is? It's on your screen. Shout out.
Choices you make, decisions.
Decision. The only thing, write this down in your notebook, the only thing that separates you from the life you want is a decision, right? Most of you, if I go around the room, you're either dithering, you know who you are, you dither, yeah, I know, but it's not the time, it's not right, Zaj, got little ones, not got enough money, it's raining outside, I'm 20 pounds heavier. You know who you are, right? You're dithering. And some of you in denial, what is she talking about? What is she talking about? I'm happy. This is it. This is what I'm destined to have. How many of you living out your destiny? God is not cruel. He's not cruel. He doesn't want you to be bloody miserable every day. You know, he wants you to put yourself first. That's why he created you, right? He wants you to find your purpose. He wants you to be happy. So those of you thinking, oh my God, this is my destiny, this is what I'm supposed to be living, this misery. No, you need to switch it. You need to switch it. Okay, so I'm now going to pause, and I'm going to love the next bit because this is where you do the work. Okay, I want you to quickly go into your breakout rooms, right? And I want you to think about, because we hear about smashing our inner glass ceilings, I want you to think, now we're going to make these groups of small groups, okay? So everybody gets time, and be respectful, okay? So don't hog the space like I do. Try to listen to each other, encourage everybody to speak, okay? So I want you to think about what is getting in your way, not the woman next to you, right? And I want you to be courageous, you know, and I want you to be vulnerable at the same time. What is getting in your way of you progressing? Let's keep it safe, because I'm sure, you know, we have, it'd take another few masterclasses to talk about your personal circumstances, but let's just talk about your career. What's getting in your way to you progressing, okay? And I don't want you to look at the external stuff. That's the rule. I don't want you to talk about that nasty, mean bitch that's stopping you from going for your next promotion. I don't want you to talk about her. I want you to talk about you. What's preventing you from moving forward? Why are you stuck where you are? Okay. I love Kate. She's looking so thoughtful. I just wish I could take a screenshot of her. Okay. So, all right, you go into your smaller room. Zara, be lovely, my love. Can you put us into groups of 3s or 4s, depending on the numbers we've got? I'm going to give you 10 minutes. I tell a lie, I'm going to give you 13 minutes. So by 12:10, you're going to come back, and I want to hear just what you've got to say, and then we can put that up on our chat and record that. Okay.
So I've put you all in rooms. Hopefully you'll start going into them, and they are opening now. Bye-bye. See you soon.
Do come. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Are we all back? Zara, is everybody back? All right. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Yeah. So number one thing that came out of your, what was the one factor, one big factor? Shout out, because it's all the same. What was the one thing that stops you from moving forward?
Ourselves.
Inner critics.
Confidence. Lack of confidence.
Mindset. Critics.
Lack of confidence.
Lack of confidence.
Financial security.
Financial security.
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. Fear.
Other responsibilities.
Other responsibilities. That's talking about everybody else. Okay. Anything else?
Other people's expectations.
Two people went at the same time.
Other people's expectations.
Expectations.
Insecurity.
Insecurity. So where does all this mess lie?
In our heads.
In our heads. Thank you. Okay. And would you like to think that you can do something about what's going on in your head? Please say yes. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Fiona, you still with us? Yeah. Good. Okay. I'm mindful of the time. My God, time flies when you're having fun. Well, I'm having fun, at least. Me, myself, and I. Okay, so let's go move into, I'm going to give you a couple of things to take away today. And these are, you know, now we've explored and disrupted your thinking and got you into that, oh my God, you know, it all lies within me, it lies within my control. You know, what is it that I can actually be doing? And I'm conscious of the time, so I'm going to move you quickly forward. Okay, I call it release and redefine. Yeah, so I want you to take these, and I'm going to give you a series of questions, my love, because the answers lie within you. The answer, I do not give answers. I could give you the answers, but that's not for me, because you are you. You are your unique self. Your journey is your journey. So when, as a coach, I can't impose my stuff on you. It'd be so brilliant if I could, you know, wave my magic wand and convert you all into, you know, these fantastic you know, places that you wish to be in, you know, but I can't. Okay, so you have to do the inner work. So the first question I'm going to ask you to write down is, what belief or behavior is blocking you? And you've heard yourself, you've heard your peers talk about that. And I actually want you to write it down, write the question down. What belief or behavior is blocking me? And I want you to interrogate it. And I want you to find what the supporting evidence for that behavior is. Okay? And then I want you to think about what it is that you're looking for. So for me, it might be, you know, what belief or behavior is blocking me. It could be my mindset. I'm pretty negative every time. And we talked about this in our group. So you see an opportunity. This will resonate with most of you. You'll see here an opportunity, and you start to have a conversation with yourself. Okay, and the conversation rarely takes you to that opportunity. The conversation will always talk you out of that opportunity. Does that sound familiar? Give me a thumbs up. Absolutely. Yeah. So what you want to sort of say, what is that behavior, and why don't I actually lean into that opportunity? I need you to start thinking about that. Okay. So what I want you to think about, what will I release? What will I let go? I need to let go of the fact that every time I see something that is worth going for, I talk myself out of it. And what do I want to do to replace it? I'm going to actually take a risk. I'm going to take risk, and I'm going to make an application, or I am going to go and apply for that course, or I'm going to get myself a mentor or a coach or whatever it is that you're looking for. Okay, so turn it, flip it. Okay, really, really flip it and get to the other side. Now, the number two, this is, oh my gosh, you know, you will only get in your own way. If I was to have a coffee with you in 6 months' time after this masterclass alone, you should be giving me a separate, a different conversation. If you're still telling me that, oh, I'm still stuck, Saj, you know, nothing changed, Saj, I got too busy, I went to work, I had the meetings and this and that. No, you only get in your own way. Okay, and if you can't change you, get help. Get help, you know, be it a mentor or a coach or a peer or a sister, whoever it is, start to do the work that is necessary. You're not going to be an expert. You might be only capable of, you know, baking a little muffin, right? And you want the 70 cake. You're not going to do that by yourself. You need somebody to give you the ingredients, the recipe, to show you how to do it, to take your little muffin and make it into a 70 cake, okay? So don't be harsh on yourself. Don't expect that, you know, I've got to hold all the answers. You don't hold the answers. This is a biggie for me. Oh my God, I get so frustrated, and I went through a lifetime of leadership, right? And when somebody would come to me, mostly women that knew that I was coaching and it was absolutely free and it was just like one-to-one, and you come to me, and the first thing I would sort of say, don't dither, don't stand there feeling all shy and coy and, oh, yeah, I know you need to tell me what it is you want from me. Okay, if you want me to write your CV, tell me you want me to write your CV. Don't stand there going, oh, I just need a little bit of help. No, you know, you need to be very clear on your R's. So when anybody comes into my coaching space, the first question you're going to hear me say, what do you want? What, I'm not being rude, I'm not being arrogant, I'm not being authoritative. I need to know, because if you don't know what you're looking for, how in the name of God can I give it to you? Okay, so be clear on your ask. Okay, and sometimes asking requires you to be vulnerable. And it means you know, the fears that you hold around a rejection or failure, whatever, you know, you need to work through those, you know, and and I'm going to share a little story. My business, I got myself a business coach 4 months ago, and he turned around and he did an audit, bless him. And he said, oh, Saj, I've got some bad news for you. And I said, oh, what's that? And he said, you're not running a business, you're running a passion project. Okay. Now, some of you might find that quite derogatory. A white man telling me, who I've paid very handsomely to, is saying, I'm not running a business, I'm running a passion project. But he did have a point, because I'm value driven, right? So I hate selling. I I don't like selling. I don't like pitching out. I don't like advertising. I don't like marketing. I don't like being visible. I just like doing this. So I've now, you know, after 4 years, decided I can't be a one-woman show. If I want to take my message to the world and, you know, impact and give value to the women around the world, then I need to get out of my own way. And by, you know, so I need to find somebody who can do the selling, the pitching, the advertising, and I don't even have to think about that. And so I've had to go and gather myself a team that I paid to do those services. Likewise, you know, sometimes you have to invest in you for the long term. Don't get short-sighted, okay? And remember, if you never ask, the answer is always no. If you never ask, the answer is always no. Okay, and I'm going to leave you with a brilliant quote because I know that Zara will want to wrap up the session. And this is my girl crush. I hope that you find her in your, you can find her in TED Talks. You can find her in, I've got all her books. Fantastic. She's actually a social worker, now a researcher, and now a big icon for the world when it comes to leadership and women. And she, and this, you know, take a screenshot of this, okay? You either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness. You know, that screams volumes. So you can either walk inside your own story, own your truth, or you can stand outside of it and keep hustling for your worthiness. Keep telling yourself that you're not worthy, you don't have enough confidence, you don't have enough time, the time is not right, you know, and all the rest of it. Or you can actually take control, make that decision. It's a single decision that separates from where you are to where you need to be. A single decision. Okay, you might want to take a screenshot. That's me on the right hand side, and that's my website, and that's my email. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to shut this down and I'm going to come back into the room. So that, believe it or not, am I right? We've been here for an hour and a half, right?
We nearly have. We've got 10 minutes. We've got 8 minutes left. And just to say, we couldn't see your last couple of slides, Saj, because when you came back in the room, obviously we'd lost your slides.
Oh no! Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Do you want to just put your last slide up so people can take a screenshot of it?
Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, where are we? Where was it? Here we go. Oh, so sorry. All right. So did anybody manage to get Brené Brown? Can you see that?
Not yet.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh. Let's get all technical. Okay.
Yeah, Brené Brown is brilliant. She's one of my favorites.
Yes.
Yeah,
So can you see the screen
we
now?
Can see it now.
Everybody take a screenshot of that. You either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness, right? Brilliant. Take a screenshot of that, my lovelies. Okay. And then that's my email address. That's me, lovely, on the right hand side. And yeah. Okay. All right. Can I take them down now, Zara?
You can, and
yeah.
maybe we can. We've still got about 5 minutes left, so maybe perhaps if anybody's only got any questions, we can take those very quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Ask me anything. Go for it.
You've already got some hands up, so I'll let you take the questions.
Okay, Nina, go for it.
Did your dad accept you again? Did you go back home? Like,
yes, I did. Yes,
Yay.
I did. Yes, Yay. I did.
Thank you. That's really good.
Yeah. Nobody could ever live without me. They know they'd want me back. Okay, all right. Okay, anybody else? Annette, you've had this beautiful smile throughout. What's going on? Any questions?
No, but I just want to say thank you. This has been really motivational, and a woman of a certain age who's hitting menopause and turning the big 50. It's just the tonic I need. So can I bottle you and have you like for a half an hour every morning just to give me that? Oh my God. It's been really good. Thank you.
Oh my God, I'm going to start to gush. I'm going to get all emotional. Oh, thank you so much. Lots of love and appreciation, Annette. Lovely. Oh my God, we should have a separate group for those of us going through menopause. Oh. A different game, a different conversation altogether. But let's stick with leadership for now. Okay, Asmita, go for it.
Yeah, I have a question. So what do you say when somebody says it's too late for me to change, or now, like, I've gone through so much and now it's too late? What do you say to someone like that?
Is it too late? You're still breathing.
In 50s, 60s, 70s, as life progresses, because these things are realized later in life.
Yeah, okay. You're 60 years old, right? What if you lived another 35 years like Queen Elizabeth did? Do you want to stay where you are for the next 35 years? Or do you want to pull your finger out and do something about it? Yeah, it's never too late. It's never too late, right? Tomorrow is not guaranteed to anybody. Okay, today is your gift. And if you wake up in the morning and it kicks you into gear and you enjoy what you're doing, and you know you've got your family around you, you've got love, you've got appreciation, you've got respect, you've got trust, you've got everything that you're wanting for, don't rock it. Okay, don't rock it. However, if you're feeling empty, you're feeling there is more to life, you want to go and travel, you want to see something, you want to go for another job, you want to set up your own business, you want to do some voluntary work, do it. It's all within your gift. There is nothing in that's not within your gift. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does perfectly. Thank you so much.
All right, my lovely. My gosh, she says she's 60. 60 is like yesterday's 50, you know? Okay.
Oh, sorry, I am not 60, but my mom is, who I would be, I could resonate with her as well when you started speaking, and yeah, that's what I would say to her then.
Yeah, of course, of course. We should have a mummy's masterclass as well. Oh my God, I'm having all these different masterclasses. Okay, anybody else? Sophia, you're looking very thoughtful, biting your pen. Talk to me. Any thoughts?
I've just absolutely loved everything about the workshop. It's got me thinking a lot, and how I move forward in a lot of things that I've created barriers for. So I am going to put a plan in place for things, taking on board everything you've said. Yeah, and the last bit that you mentioned about knowing your self-worth, I think that's a big one. Kind of really understanding your self-worth is really it's been brilliant. I'm not gonna lie, I've loved every bit of it.
Thank you.
So yes, there's a lot to take. There was a lot to take from it today, and a lot to think and process as well. So it's been brilliant. Thank you for that.
No, lovely. Use the chat, those of you that don't wish to speak, any thoughts, any questions, oh my God, the clock is ticking, it's 12:28. Okay, anybody else?
Quick thought. Hello. I just wanted to say, I think that the focus on the internal was really important, because oftentimes we're quick to kind of blame external factors for things not working out how we sort of imagined life would work out. And I think it's really important that you took it back to the, we are often our own biggest critics and we're the ones holding ourselves back. So it's like taking that power back and utilizing it in a positive rather than sort of focusing on the negative. And I thought that was really insightful and important. So thank you.
No, this is your space, and I hope, if nothing else, for the last 90 minutes you've had a conversation with you, and I hope it's a brand new conversation that you've had with you.
Saj, can I just ask you, it's Sarah,
Laura,
after you had such a turbulent and quite traumatic at times childhood, how do you think you got that strength that you had? Because even back then you seemed like you were a really strong, determined person despite all of those barriers.
I didn't know anything different. I didn't know anything different. What I mean by that, I had such a shitty life. It kind of followed me into my adult life, and I just kind of, a girlfriend. I think this captures it all. One of my dearest and closest soul sisters wrote in my birthday card. She said, "Saj, does shit attract you, or do you attract shit?" And I wasn't offended, because wherever I went there was always trauma, there was always adversity, it was always, oh my gosh, and I realized that I kept rocking up as a very dysfunctional, very fractured person, but every time I ended up in situations, it was, and it goes back to that thing that I said, when you are in between a hard place and a rock, there's only one way, and that's out. So every time I kept falling and falling, I just had to keep getting out, because I just knew in my heart of hearts. And you know what, the thing that I was chasing most of my life, that I'm doing the work on now, the void in my life was, I just wanted peace. And it sounds really corny now and cheesy, but I just wanted, and you know, many a time I've sat in prayer, and I've said to you know, him upstairs, I said, just give me a break. Just give me a break, you know, and it's not been forthcoming. But I do believe that, you know, many moons of that suffering and struggle has led me to this space, and you know, and everything that I share with you, I think it's prepared me for this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if I didn't have any of those stories, you would have been bored, and 11:05 you would have all gone out and said, oh God, it's one of those workshops. So I do, and today, if I'm being honest, I share my story to inspire you, because I always, if I was addressing this in a public forum, I would be saying, my story is your story. You know, the fact that 50+ women are in this space, I do believe it's our similarities. You know, there are lots and lots of similarities rather than our differences, but we don't make time for each other. We are too blinkered and too siloed and too inward thinking. Oh, it's me and my treadmill. I've got to keep going. And we don't lift our heads out of the trenches to have a look around and say, oh my God, sorry, you're not having a good day. How's it going? We don't do that enough, you know? Okay, right. Zara, can I quickly plug? I feel I need to have permission.
Yeah, you can. And I'm just going to say, we do need to tie, you know, close the session now. So I'll let you have that, and then we'll.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to build on what Annette said. Okay. And please forgive me. I'm not being egotistic. You know, I've just presented me, my whole self, as I. And what Annette said is what many women say to me. What next? Oh my God, Saj, I need you in my head. I need you in my ear. I need this. So what I'm currently doing, I'm creating an online platform for all of you. Okay, with you in mind. And this is, I believe that we need a platform, a safe space that we can come into. We can dip in and dip out, because you don't want me permanently in your head, okay? And what this platform will do is a membership place, and for the, you know, less than a cup of coffee, by the way. So I know my women are grassroots women. They're in struggle, you know, they're not the creme of the creme when it comes to finances. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to create a safe space where you can have check-ins with me in a group forum like this, and we can talk about everything that is important to us, and it's safe for us to do so. Does that make sense? I've got 2 hubs. I'll be having one in London and one in Manchester. I'm not sure what my audience is outside of those 2 areas. So those are where the 2 hubs will be. So we'll have webinars, masterclasses, we'll have downloadable coaching tools, everything you get. You can get a coaching with Saj, you know, and then more importantly, I actually get to meet you in person every 8 weeks. We all put our dresses on and our heels on, a bit of lippy. We go to a nice restaurant, we connect and just engage. And you know, for me, I'd love to have this movement or a huge collective of our sisters just working and progressing through life. And then you can go back to your lives and carry on doing whatever you're doing. So do keep a lookout for that. I'm going to come back to Zara in about 8 weeks' time. I'm going to ask her to share the details with each and every one of you. Is that okay, Zara? And then it's entirely up to you, because I look forward to seeing you in person next time. Okay. All right. That's me and my plug.
Thank you, Saj. Let's just give Saj a really, like a big round of applause, maybe on your emojis, hands, whatever, just appreciation for Saj, because this session was absolutely brilliant. And I have to say that I've been working on myself for the last 18 months, and a big fan of like Neville Goddard and Doja Spencer and Abraham Hicks, and somebody mentioned The Secret, which is also an awesome book. But all of these things, it's all about your mindset. And this is just going to be, like I said, I've been working on my mindset for the last 2 years. So this is just the start of your journey. And there are going to be some more things that I'll send after this session in terms of an email about what is next for you, because this is part of our place-based initiative around equity, diversity and belonging, which is we want to get more women into leadership. And this is going to be part of that sort of start of that journey. We'd love to keep going, having the conversation going. And obviously I will plug in Saj's platform, because that is also any additional help, any way that you can still connect with women is always going to be really good. So it's never going to be detrimental to us. So the more you can connect, the more we can have this conversation, the better. But there's some thinking for you guys to do now, to go away. So beyond the email and the information that Saj will send through, what are you going to take away from this session, and what improvements are you going to be making? So that's a promise to yourself really from this. And so please don't let this hour and a half go to waste. Use it, really start thinking about those sort of questions that, you know, Saj started off with. We're thinking about what your beliefs and behaviours are that are blocking you, etc., and what you're going to do about it. So thank you very much again for attending this session, and I look forward to speaking to you soon again about our next steps. Thanks, Saj, again. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.